Промыс. Прекрасное название первого нашего доклада. Пожалуйста.
Да, спасибо.
Good morning, friends. It is a great honor to be here, of course. I approach Tenggerism from the point of view of a futurist rather than an historian. Specifically, I approach Tenggerism from the point of view of international law. When I first came to Mongolia in June of 2013, I came with the intention of formulating a new framework for international cooperation on the basis of the rule of law. I saw, and I continue to see, the present system as extremely deficient in its ability to produce harmony or progress. This was due, in my view, to various factors, some of them ideological, some of them demographic, certainly political. It was clear to me that the main fault of the present system was that it does not adequately represent the people of the world as a whole. And so after publishing my essential complaint in a law journal in South Korea, I decided to come to Mongolia looking for opportunities to develop a broader basis for the international legal system. I came seeking ideas and also the chance to establish institutions or organizations that might further my objective. We're all familiar with Mongolia's long history as a dynamic and creative bridge between the civilizations of East and West. We are also quite aware that Mongolia's nomadic legacy has supplied it with a rare and deeply scientific understanding of the natural environment. In both of these senses, Mongolia is uniquely suited to be a leader in developing common understanding in the cultural and political senses, but also in the greater existential sense shared by all living things. In preparation for my own expedition, I consulted with my friend and colleague, Dr. Yerji Toman, who has written extensively on the protection of cultural property and has served as a consultant for UNESCO and the United Nations Center for Human Rights, among other organizations, and who is also an academician, a foreign member of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences. Dr. Toman and I agreed that any attempt to create a truly universal system of law must have a spiritual foundation, or it will not succeed. He invited me to join him in Vienna to discuss the matter with his friend, Karl von Habsburg, who has long been very active in the Ruhr Society, particularly in promoting the Ruhr Pact. And Karl is also a great friend and fan of Mongolia, and he sends his regards. Karl was very enthusiastic and encouraged me to be sure to visit Dr. Bira upon my arrival in Ulaanbaatar, and I assured him that that was indeed my first objective. I was able to find the Ruhr Museum after my second day in Ulaanbaatar. Dr. Bira was, of course, very gracious and shared with me very important information on Tenggerism. He showed me the emblem of the Ruhr Pact and informed me of its Tenggerist meaning. I was completely unfamiliar with this meaning. What he told me was that the three inner circles correspond to the three elements of creation: Father Sky, Mother Earth, and the human being. And I was immediately impressed by the elegance and the beauty of this conceptualization. It summarizes the essential condition and simultaneously emphasizes the importance of balance. And I began to see at once the potential for Tenggerism to provide the spiritual basis for a new international legal order. In October of 2013, I was invited to the Rurish conference in Moscow, which was focused on the theme of Russian cosmism. Although I was not listed as a speaker on the program, I was given special permission to address the conference at the very end regarding my ideas on the future of the international legal system and the special role of Mongolia in that new system. And I was pleased to find much support for my ideas. The prospect of a new international system of law inspired by the humanistic aims of Nicholas Rurish was, of course, very exciting to those who were attending the conference. It was also interesting for me to discover that Tenggerism has much in common with Russian cosmism. The power of Tenggerism in our modern age, I believe, resides in its transcendental application. I have spoken to scholars and theorists of many faiths regarding Tenggerism. Never have I encountered a reactionary or categorical rejection. Indigenous persons from different cultures, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Taoists, even atheists, Marxists, have responded positively. And those who adhere to what many in the West refer to as Gaiaism, which observes and reveres above all else the feminine role in the cosmic creation, are distinctly intrigued by Tenggerism due to its deep respect and co-equal view in the cosmic creation of the feminine principle, the Great Mother. There are many reasons for the noticeable and widespread interest that I have seen in my interactions, but I speculate that the attraction of Tenggerism relies on its lack of dogma, its primordial origins, and its potential to organize consensus across religious, philosophical, and political divisions. For serious and intelligent people, these qualities give substance to the hope for a better future. We see, moreover, a conceptualization which supports our modern humanistic notions of development. That is, that our greatest natural resource is our own human creativity and problem-solving capability. It is especially in this regard that the goal of popularizing Tenggerism takes on for myself great immediacy. Genghis Khan once said, "I receive my inspiration from Father Sky, but it is through Mother Earth that I'm able to turn my inspiration into reality." The Tenggerist outlook is explicit in this statement by the great man. The success of each phase of his life's work depended upon the balancing of these three elements of life: the inspirational gifts of the father, the material blessings of the mother, and his own human initiative. It was his Tenggerist outlook that gave coherence to his efforts, harmonizing new and radical ideas with the available human and natural resources. What he constructed in the end was much closer to an enlightened vision of an international system than it was to the usual understanding of empire. Humanist values were promoted above the consolidation of power. Human dignity was enhanced by the opportunity for cross-cultural collaboration. It is, of course, impossible to find a comparable figure to Genghis Khan. However, I would like to bring our discussion into the present and forward into the future. Our present era, in retrospect, offers a remarkable example of humanistic striving toward the general welfare in the person of U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt. President Roosevelt was perhaps the modern age's most prolific agent of development. He rescued the United States from destruction at the hands of financial oligarchs, which were and are based in London and Wall Street, by initiating vast public works projects. He opposed imperialism abroad by initiating similar projects in Latin America, Iran, China, and Russia. He believed that the international order should be a community of strong, independent nations and not an exercise in imperial domination run by a small consortium of private oligarchical interests. Coincidentally, Franklin Roosevelt was also the foremost political advocate of the Rurish Pact, as you all know, a pact whose banner bears the Tenggerist emblem. Like Genghis Khan, Roosevelt believed that government exists to promote the common welfare of the citizens and not to serve private oligarchical interests. Roosevelt circumvented the banking and political establishment, working directly with the people to provide roads, bridges, electricity, sanitation, schools, and hospitals, while his projects abroad were largely sabotaged by agents of London and Wall Street after his death. His advances in improving the domestic situation are still with us, although their physical condition is dangerously in decline. Later, John F. Kennedy attempted to revive Roosevelt's outlook and activism on the behalf of humanity. We are all familiar with the very tragic consequences to himself personally. Since his assassination, the United States has existed primarily as the enforcement apparatus for the international banking oligarchy. In the present time, the public figure who, in my view, best represents an actively humanistic political philosophy is Vladimir Putin. Putin's vision of a world uplifted by development harkens back to the yearnings of Aeschylus, who elaborated the struggle of the human spirit against the oppression of oligarchy, and later to the Renaissance in which the creative human energies centered in Florence flourished in defiance of the predations and abuses of the oligarchical banking and slave trading establishment centered in Venice. We see this spirit emerging later in the American Revolution. It is this spirit that remains the best hope of humanity, and it is this spirit that is clearly evident in abundance here in Mongolia. Indeed, upon my arrival in Mongolia not long ago, I was especially struck by this enormous wealth of human creative energy. There's an obvious, natural, innovative capacity and a great capacity for leadership in the present international context. I came to Mongolia in search of a better life. Not for myself especially, although my own life personally has become enriched and vitalized in ways that I could not have imagined. Not so much for the nation of Mongolia precisely, although it is my deep and sincere intention that fostering and promoting an environment that attracts the respectful attention of the international legal community here in Ulaanbaatar will accelerate Mongolia's development. But I came looking for a better life for our planet, for a new path for the human family, and for all sentient life. So far, what I have seen and experienced in Mongolia gives me great hope in this regard. As we look to the future, perhaps it is a good idea to see ourselves, each of us, as agents of development. To this end, I should like to propose a discussion toward the popularization of Tenggerism. The peace of tomorrow cannot be created without development. Development must have law as its basis. The law of tomorrow must be consonant with universal principles of harmony. These principles are exactly commensurate with Tenggerism. Genghis Khan is sometimes referred to as the great lawgiver. This view of the great leader emanates to a large degree from his deep and abiding connection to his Tengris roots, which extend into the very core of existence. On the 4th of July 2015, I had a very exciting discussion with Dr. Bira, in which we converged on the idea of popularizing Tenggerism. I remember the conversation very clearly. It was just before our 80th anniversary of the Rurish Pact event at our Rurish Museum here in Ulaanbaatar. It was a very happy moment for me, a futurist and an activist in international law, to connect with one of the modern era's greatest historians in such a substantive and actionable way. Nicholas Rurish once wrote that the treasures required to build our glorious future often lie buried by the side of the road, in easy reach. I should like to thank you all today for this rare opportunity to begin to turn inspiration into reality by digging into the subject of Tenggerism. I welcome and encourage all suggestions and offers of assistance in carrying forth this mission. Tenggerism has no beginning and no end, but it does have a vital and necessary place in our present global situation. Thank you very much.